In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise and thanks are due to Allah, and peace and blessings be upon His Messenger. Today, I would like to share a chapter from a book, The 100, a ranking of the most influential persons in history, which was written by Michael H. Hart, an American astrophysicist and historian. He chose Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as the most influential person in history among the 100 that he chose. Now, why he chose? Let's see. He writes, my choice of Muhammad to lead the list of the world's most influential persons may surprise some readers and may be questioned by others, but he was the only man in history who was supremely successful on both the religious and secular levels. Of humble origins, Muhammad founded and promulgated one of the world's great religions and became an immensely effective political leader. Today, 13 centuries after his death, his influence is still powerful and pervasive. The majority of the persons in this book had the advantage of being born and raised in centers of civilization, highly cultured or politically pivotal nations. Muhammad, however, was born in the year 570 in the city of Mecca in southern Arabia. At that time, a backward area of the world, far from the centers of trade, art, and learning. Orphan at age six, he was reared in modest surroundings. Islamic traditions tells us that he was illiterate. His economic position improved when at age 25 he married a wealthy widow. Nevertheless, as he approached 40, there was little outward indication that he was a remarkable person. Most Arabs at that time were pagans who believed in many gods. There were, however, in Mecca a small number of Jews and Christians. It was from them, no doubt, that Muhammad first learned of a single omnipotent God who ruled the entire universe. When he was 40 years old, Muhammad became convinced that this one true God, in Arabic Allah, was speaking to him and had chosen him to spread the true faith. For 3 years, Muhammad preached only to close friends and associates. Then, about 613, he began preaching in public. As he slowly gained converts, the Meccan authorities came to consider him a dangerous nuisance. In year 622, fearing for his safety, Muhammad fled to Medina, a city some 200 miles north of Mecca, where he had been offered a position of considerable political power. This flight, called the Hijrah, was the turning point of the Prophet's life. In Mecca, he had few followers. In Medina, he had many more, and he soon acquired an influence that made him a virtual dictator. During the next few years, while Muhammad's following grew rapidly, a series of battles were fought between Medina and Mecca. This was ended in year 630 with Muhammad's triumphant return to Mecca as conqueror. The remaining 2.5 years of his life witnessed the rapid conversion of the Arab tribes to the new religion. When Muhammad died in year 632, he was the effective ruler of all southern Arabia. The Bedouins, tribesmen of Arabia, had a reputation as fierce warriors, but their number was small and plagued by disunity and intermittent warfare. They had been no match for the larger armies of the kingdom in the settled agricultural areas to the north. However, unified by Muhammad for the first time in history and inspired by their fervent belief in the one true God, these small Arab Arabs now embarked upon one of the most astonishing series of conquests in human history. To the northeast of Arabia lay the large Neo Persian Empire of the Sassanids, to the northwest by the Byzantine or Eastern Roman Empire, centered in Constantinople, inspired Arabs rapidly conquered all of Mesopotamia, Syria, and Palestine. By year 642, Egypt had been wrested from the Byzantine Empire, while the Persian armies had been crushed at the key battles of Qadessia in the year 632 and New Haven in year 642. But even these enormous conquests, which were made under leadership of Muhammad's close friends and immediate successor, Abu Bakr and Umar ibn Khattab, did not mark the end of the Arab advance. By year 711, the Arabs had swept completely across North Africa to the Atlantic Ocean. There they turned north and crossing the Strait of Gibraltar, overwhelmed by Visigothic kingdom in Spain. For a while it must seem that the Muslims would overwhelm all of Christian Europe. However, in year 632, at the famous Battle of Tours, Muslim army which had advanced into the center of France was at last defeated by the Franks. Nevertheless, in a scant century of fighting, these Bedouin tribesmen, inspired by the word of the Prophet, had carved out an empire stretching from the borders of India to the Atlantic Ocean, the largest empire that the world had yet seen. And everywhere that the armies conquered, large-scale conversion to the new faith eventually followed. How, then, is one to assess the overall impact of Muhammad on human history? Like all religions, Islam exerts an enormous influence upon the lives of its followers. It is for this reason that the founders of the world's great religion all figure prominently in this book. Since there are roughly twice as many Christians as Muslims in the world, it may initially seem strange that Muhammad has been ranked higher than Jesus. There are two principal reasons for that decision. First, Muhammad played a far more important role in the development of Islam than Jesus did in the development of Christianity. Although Jesus was responsible for the main ethical and moral precepts of Christianity, insofar as these differed from Judaism, St. Paul was the main developer of Christian theology, its principal proselyter, and the author of a large portion of the New Testament. Muhammad, however, was responsible for both the theology of Islam and its main ethical and moral principles. In addition, he played the key role in proselytizing the new faith and in establishing the religious practices of Islam. Moreover, he is the author of the Muslim holy scriptures, the Quran, a collection of certain of Muhammad's insights that he believed had been directly revealed to him by Allah. Most of these utterances were copied more or less faithfully during Muhammad's lifetime and were collected together in authoritative form not long after his death. The Quran therefore closely represents Muhammad's ideas and teachings and to a considerable extent his exact words. No such detailed compilation of the teachings of Christ has survived. Since the Quran is at least as important to Muslims as the Bible is to Christians, the influence of Muhammad through the medium of the Quran has been enormous. It is probable that the relative influence of Muhammad on Islam has been larger than the combined influence of Jesus Christ and St. Paul on Christianity. On the purely religious level, then it seems likely that Muhammad has been as influential in history as Jesus. Furthermore, Muhammad, unlike Jesus, was a secular as well as a religious leader. In fact, as the driving force behind the Arab conquest, he may well rank as the most influential political leader of all time. We see then that the Arab conquests of the 7th century have continued to play an important role in human history down to the present day. It is this unparalleled combination of secular and religious influence which I feel entitles Muhammad to be considered the most influential single figure in human history.